back to my channel Study with A, and I think that this is the first video where I'm here in person instead of just being my hands. So it's weird, but I'm here, and I have come here with a new video. As you can probably tell by the title, it's going to be IB versus CBSE. To be specific, IBDP, which is the International Baccalaureate Diploma Program, and CBSE 11th and 12th. Since IB is only for junior and senior year, we're only going to look at CBSE 11th and 12th to even the playing field. And yeah, let's get on with the video. So for the first part of the video, let me just start by saying that it totally depends on what you're looking for. What are your objectives? What are your expectations to get out of the program or the board that you're studying in? Because both CBSE and IB are very different, very unique in their own respective right, and they both have pros and cons to them. So I don't think I can really say which one is better than the other. So please do keep that in mind while watching, and don't forget to like, share, comment and subscribe, because I'm here every single week with new videos about studying. I wasn't here for a long time because I had semester exams, and then I was traveling here to Singapore. So I'm going to divide this video into 3 parts. The first part is going to be about the basics, so the basic differences in structure of both the programs. The second is going to be about the assessments, and the third is going to be about my final thoughts, kind of the conclusion of the comparisons. So let's get on with the first part, the basics. The structure of both these curriculums is very different. You have streams, so science, commerce and humanities in CBSE. You don't have any streams or anything in IB. We have 6 subjects. I can't talk. We have 6 subject groups. We have studies in language and literature, language acquisition, individuals and societies, experimental sciences, mathematics and the arts. And we can choose one from each group and study. So I guess that's a very major difference, because CBSE is much more rigid than IB when it comes to what subjects you can study. But again, coming to the second point, all students in IB have to study mathematics. It's a compulsory subject. Everybody has to study that, whereas there's no compulsory to study maths in CBSE. Third point, which that's related to the second point, is HL and SL subjects. So if you don't want to major in a subject, you like it, you have an interest in it, but you're not that passionate about that subject. So for example, you don't really like maths, but you have to take it anyway because everybody has to take maths in IB. Then what you can do is take it on standard level. So standard level classes in IB are much simpler, much easier assessments, less syllabus, whereas higher level subjects are the ones you really are passionate about and you want to pursue in higher education studies. Again, that gives you a lot of flexibility. So for example, in my case, I have 1 or 2 subjects which I'm not really that passionate about, but I am interested in them. They're fascinating for me, so I'm studying them anyway. But you can't do that in CBSE. So even if you don't want to really pursue English in higher education, you're still gonna have to give the same amount of hard work, time in English as you would for, say, physics and chemistry. Even though you're passionate about physics and chemistry, not English, you're gonna still have an 80-mark paper for both the subjects. So I guess that's another point where CBSE is more rigid with its approach than IB. But again, that could be a pro or a con depending on what you would like to do, and what's more maybe sometimes it's also about accessibility. There's not a lot of IB schools in India, so I mean, it depends. So the next thing I want to talk about in basics is um, the main three core subjects of IB. So we have basically, if you look at it, 6 plus 3. So the three are TOK, Theory of Knowledge, which is an epistemology course, CAS, Creativity, Action and Service, and EE, which is Extended Essay, a 4,000 word research paper that every student in IB has to submit at the end of 2 years. So if you fail any one of these three, you're not gonna get the diploma. Even if you got full marks in each of your subjects, you're not gonna get the IB diploma if you fail any of these three. They're core requirements which must be completed. So again, CBSE doesn't have that. So some people would say that's the benefit of CBSE. You don't have all that extra pressure. But some people would say that that's the benefit of IB, is that you get to apply your classroom knowledge in real world situations with CAS. You get to explore the subject of your choice in much more depth in your EE. And you get to have TOK, which will be kind of a refresher for you, and it will give you a lot of abstract thoughts to ponder about. It really depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking for a more tough, rigorous course which has a lot of things to do, it will keep you busy. Not like you don't have like you can't do anything else when you're in the IB. It's not like that, but still it's much more rigorous than CBSE. So you should go for the IB. If you want something slow paced and something which is divided kind of in 2 years, then you should go for CBSE. Which brings me to my next point: 2-year program versus 2 1-year programs. IB is a 2-year program, and so everything is kind of planned by the teachers, and kind of it will be structured in a way to happen over 2 years. Whereas in CBSE, it's class 11th and 12th separately. You have separate books. You will have separate final exams for both of them. That doesn't happen in IB. It's a continuum. It's 2 years together. And now I think we can talk about the elephant in the room, the assessments. In the assessments, the biggest thing is in IB, we're allowed calculators and data booklets, which the data booklets will have all the constants, the values of the constants. Like for chemistry, it will have the periodic table, it will have all the important equations. So IB exams are also designed more to focus at the applicative skills and the analytical skills of students more than their memory or rote learning, whereas CBSE has a lot of memory tests involved in it, whereas the IB does not. And so I mean, also like the IB does have more things to do, so it won't also be possible to rote learn for all the subjects that we have. So I mean, you can see how it's like they're 2 totally different programs. The next thing is, as I said, the calculators. We do have calculators around for some papers in IB, specific models only, which should be in exam mode. Graphing calculators we have, which should be in exam mode. So you won't fail chemistry or physics just because you don't know maths. Even if you don't know that much maths, you can still pass easily. And so as I talked about papers, so in CBSE you have 1 3-hour paper at the end of 12th class, the board exams, for every subject. In IB, we have different like for some subjects you have 2 written papers and then a hearing assessment and a speaking assessment, whereas in CBSE it's not like that. In IB we have 3 papers for each subject. Again, in CBSE it's just 1 paper. So I guess in that sense IB has again a more thorough assessment process, because there are 3 papers and the timing of the papers together comes to sometimes even more than 4 hours, so they can test a student more thoroughly than you could in CBSE. So again, I don't know whether that's a pro or a con. It depends on how you take it. And that brings me to my next point, marking schemes. So CBSE results will give you percentage and they'll give you how many marks you got in which subject, but IB will give you points. So the maximum point you can score in any subject is a 7. And for some subjects which are more difficult, above 85%, above 87%, could be a 7. In some subjects which are easier, maybe your SO subjects, above 90 could be a 7. And then 7 into 6, 42, plus 3 points that we get from our TOK and EE. And also here it's good to mention that EE is externally assessed, and the TOK is internally assessed but externally moderated. So you'll get 3 points out of those. That's the maximum you can get. And so totally you can get a maximum of 45 points in the IBDP. Whereas in CBSE you will have percentage. So that's another major difference between these two, is their marking and the results. And also let's talk about predict. So in IB they'll give you an official predicted grade at the time when people start applying for colleges. So because most colleges will start taking applications in November, December, whereas the IB results come out in May or June of the next year. So when you're submitting to colleges, you're going to submit your predict grade, which is based on your school exams and how you performed in that subject throughout the 2 years. Whereas in CBSE, you don't have a predicted grade, like an official predicted grade. It's not there. And then your 20% internal marks in both CBSE and IB are also different. So CBSE, it comes from your school exam and your notebooks or whatever, like your class response and other things. Whereas in IB, you have to submit a separate project for each subject, which is called the IA, internal assessment project, which will give you those 20% marks. So even if you did bad in all your school exams, you can still get those 20% marks if you did your IA well. So yeah, now coming to part 3, the final conclusion. I think IB and CBSE are totally different programs, so it's pointless to compare between them, and that was my phone. Okay. I guess it's just that those two boards have very different objectives and aims. So let me give you an example of questions. So see, a question from simple harmonic motion in physics in CBSE would be like, this is the acceleration, this is the amplitude, this is the angular frequency, find the time. You put in the equation, you plug in the values, you get the answer. Whereas in IB, it would give you a graph, maybe an acceleration versus displacement graph, and then you would have to calculate the angular frequency from the graph and calculate the maximum displacement, which is amplitude, from the graph, and then put those values from the graph into the equation and then find the time. And the question won't be find the time, the question will be like, what will a graph of acceleration versus time look like? So you have to find the time and then you have to use that with each of the acceleration values that you're given and make another graph. So IB has more of analytical and applicative skill based questions, and it has a lot of research elements involved in it, whereas CBSE has more of straight direct questions in it. So I mean, it totally again depends on what you expect out of your high school experience. What do you want to pursue after graduating high school? So that is, and then a lot of factors will go into choosing which one is right for you, because there is no right or better board among the two. They're different completely. And yeah, now that the video is done, let's talk about life updates. So I'm here in Singapore right now, and I'm currently in quarantine in this amazing 5-star hotel, and the food here is so good, so good. So I'm doing the IBDP here, and I'm gonna be here for 2 years, and yeah, I'm gonna upload the vlog soon, so stay tuned for that. And once again, don't forget to like, share, comment and subscribe, and I will see you guys in my next video.